Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast, episode number 39. Big Buck Registry is a virtual museum of hunting stories. We preserve a piece of Americana by interviewing and recording hunters about their hunts and experiences from across the country. And who knows, maybe we'll learn a thing or two along the way that'll help us take our hunt to the next level.
Hey everyone, this is Zach Doyle with the Rack Packer Outdoors, and you're listening to my favorite podcast of all time, the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
Welcome to episode number 39 of the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast. Thanks for joining us today. I do want to just tell you who we've got on the show today. We're actually speaking to Monte Hermsmeyer, who sent in a big buck to the Big Buck Registry, and he's going to tell us all about hunting Nebraska. So if you've never hunted Nebraska, this is probably a good episode to listen to. And then we're going to speak with Tori McCrea from Country Girls Outdoors out of Texas. And we're going to hear what it's like to kind of be a late bloomer and start hunting at age 29 and then form a band of hunters, country girls, see what it's like. So I hope you enjoy the show, and we'll see you on the other side. Monte, welcome to the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, we're psyched to have you on board. This is, you submitted a nice Nebraska big whitetail. Looks like you did a little harvest with your bow, and we want to get the story behind that buck and see if we can get a few other tips and tricks out of you along the way, if that's cool.
Hey, that sounds good.
Awesome. Monte, tell us where you're from.
I'm originally from a small town, central Nebraska. It's Scotia, a town of about 350 people.
No kidding, 350?
Yep.
Wow. All right, so that's a small town.
Pretty much a gas station and a grocery store is about all it consists of.
Well, you know what that means to me? That means that the hunting's good.
Yes, very much so.
Yep. When I hear those types of stats, I'm like, well, there's only one good thing. It means there's a lot of whitetail. So that's good. No, and I like the small town country lifestyle anyway. You know, that's where we're big fans of that anyway. So that's good to hear. So you grew up in that area?
Yep.
And what was
I grew up there and graduated there.
Beautiful. And what was life like growing up in a small town in Nebraska?
Well, everybody knew each other, and like you say, not a lot of people hunted in the area. There was a lot of small farms, and so a lot of neighbors would, as long as you asked, they'd let you go hunting on their property. So it's kind of a really small town lifestyle, I guess you could
That's
say.
cool. So do you keep did you have to keep a book of permission slips, or is it verbal?
No, it was, there was one landowner that, we usually got written permission from. There was other family that hunted the area, and so they just wanted to make sure that if we ever crossed paths that, they knew that we had permission to be there. But otherwise, most of the landowners would say, you know what, as long as you close the gates after you're in and out, you can hunt as often, as much as you like. So
cool.
They were very understanding. So
how many acres are we talking here?
Thousands of acres, actually. A lot of rolling pasture hills where we hunt.
Oh, wow. So it's almost like if you go get the permission, you respect the land, you continue to hunt there.
Yep. As long as, like you say, as long as you closed gates and made sure you didn't leave trash out in the field or left gut piles in plain sight and cleaned up anything that you had out there, you were welcome there virtually all the time.
Awesome. Now,
that's cool.
How did you get into hunting? Who was can you attribute your desires to go hunting to any one particular person, or was it more of a family thing? How do you sum that up?
It was a family thing. My dad really got me into hunting. He started taking me with him when I was between 3 and 5 years old, and actually got me my first .22 when I was 5, and called in a coyote with him and shot my first coyote with a .22. And my mom always hunted, and my uncles hunted, so it was in my blood, I guess you could say, to begin with.
Nice. And when did you first harvest your first deer?
I would have been 12 years old when I harvested my first deer. shot a whitetail doe with a 243 that had to saw the buttstock off, so it hit me, and shot her at 40 yards.
Awesome. Very cool. So then you develop some skills along the way, by the looks of it. I mean, and the big buck that you shot isn't by chance, and it looks like you're doing it with a bow. So you've clearly honed your skills.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Tell us a little bit about some of the things you've learned along the way.
Some of the things I've learned, you gotta learn to read the animals. What would you say? Instincts. Know kind of how they react to sounds and different smells and lures, and I did a lot of reading in magazines and asked a lot of questions to my dad and my uncle in particular. My uncle kind of got me into the archery side of hunting. My dad mainly did rifle and muzzleloader, and I learned a lot from my uncle as far as learning to play the wind and tree stand locations, and how deer move from food sources to back to bedding and different trails, and a lot contributed to that.
Gotcha. I'd like to get into a little bit about how you prepare for a hunt these days. One of our quests here on the Big Buck Registry, and Dusty and I talk about this a lot, is what we're trying to do is basically catalog the stories that hunters have to share. And along the way, we're going to learn some things that are common amongst those that are being more successful. So we'd like to get that story from you. And I'm going to let Dusty take it from here to kind of break down the hunt and find out what you did to prepare for that hunt, and maybe things that you do to prepare now on each and every hunt, and then get into some of the details of that hunt exactly, from the minute the alarm clock went off to the processing of the meat.
Okay.
Awesome. Let's get started. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the landscape that you're hunting there, and tell us kind of your area that you mainly hunt. What's you guys hunting? Hardwoods, pastures, cornfields, soybeans? Tell us what you got there for hunting grounds.
Right now, since I moved away from home and kind of started taking the reins and hunting on some of my own property that I've acquired, I've moved about an hour to hour and a half away from where I used to hunt. And right now, most of the property that I hunt is a lot of cropland ground, a lot of edges of cornfields, soybean fields, and alfalfa fields. Kind of some main food sources for the deer, and then off of that, some kind of heavy pastures that don't get grazed, which serves as a really nice bedding area for the deer. And so most of my tree stand locations are in areas, the corners of pivots that are not farmed. They left the trees and kind of some CRP type grass in those corners, so that deer have a safe haven. If they get scared out of the field, they've got a place to go and kind of check things out before they move any further. And there's a lot of hardwood trees, a lot of oak trees, or not too many oak trees, but some walnut trees, and some cottonwood trees that most of my tree stands are set in now.
It sounds like a deer mecca.
It's a like you say, the property I hunt now I kind of fell into it. I'm an agronomist by trade, and then a hunter all winter. Once crops come out, I pretty much solely go hunting whenever the weather suits. And so that ground is very, very, there's a lot of animals, a lot of deer, a lot of turkeys, and so it's a great wildlife habitat.
Monte, can you say what you are by trade again?
I'm an agronomist.
All right, what is that?
I check cornfields, soybean fields, and alfalfa fields all summer long for bugs and diseases, and I pretty much help the farmers grow the best crops that they can.
Oh, cool.
And every step of the way, from buying their seed all the way up until they run the combine through the field.
That's pretty neat. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Well, we deal with quite a few agronomists around here.
It's probably the best for a hunter. It's probably about the best job choice you can get, because once deer season rolls around for archery, you're pretty much done scouting fields, and you can start focusing back on hunting again.
Yeah,
right. You scout all year long.
Yep.
Sounds like you definitely have an edge, being ergonomist. Agronomist.
Yep.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a good edge, just to have a knowledge base of where all the best food is and where the deer are moving in and out just from being in the field. That's awesome.
Not only does he know the best food spots, but he knows where the best crops are grown.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, man. What a great job to be a deer hunter.
Yeah, it's been, like I say, hunting's the love of my life, and the agronomy business really helps me pursue that even more. So.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us what day you shot your big buck.
This year I shot my deer on November 1st.
November 1st. Seems like that's pretty hot day throughout the United States for sure.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about.
I want to be in the sand.
Right. What was the weather conditions on November the 1st?
It was a cooler morning. I would say it was probably mid-30s, which is kind of not seasonal for that time of year. Usually we should be in the single digits, probably teens in the morning. And so the deer movement hadn't been that great for the past probably week, 10 days leading up to the day that I shot my deer.
Do you have out trail cameras?
I have a lot of trail cameras, yes. I've got, I probably got 10 to 12 trail cameras up, going to and coming from food sources and bedding areas to try and get a time when the most deer activity is happening.
Right. Can you tell us what kind of trail cameras you got out?
I use Moultrie trail cameras. For the money, I think they're a very good value. I use the D55 IR, which is infrared cameras. That way they don't have that bright flash at night when they get their picture taken. It just kind of gives off a red glow.
Right.
And the pictures are very, very, very good with those.
So how many trail cam pictures are we talking a weekly basis?
Early in the season, between June and July, it's about 1,000 pictures a week per camera. I use a lot of BB squared from Big and J. Right. And that attracts about any source of wildlife that's in the area.
Did you say that was BBJ?
BB squared from Big and J.
BB squared. Tell us a little bit about BB squared.
It's a supplemental mineral that's put together from some guys out of Grand Island, Nebraska. It's getting to be pretty widely known the more that they get out in the field. And it's got a lot of small trace minerals in it. And the main attractant in it, I believe, is gluten, which is a corn byproduct. It gives off a really strong aroma that the deer like. And that gets them to come into it and really, really chow down.
Where do you purchase this at?
I purchase it locally from, it's called Muddy Creek Nutrition. It's a small feed store. They can get it to me in the bulk, which is a 2,000-pound feed sack, for lack of a better term.
So you're buying it in one big, like a cloth pro box, pretty much?
Yes, exactly. Yep, exactly.
Awesome. I know a little bit about the farming terms, I reckon.
Very good.
That's interesting that you can buy it in bulk like that. Do you bucket it out? How do you distribute it?
Yep. Then I use 5-gallon buckets and I just bucket it out and take it with me when I go to scout the fields where I can do most of my hunting. I just take it with me every time I go to scout the field and dump it out again in front of the cameras.
So 2,000 pounds. Can you tell us how long that lasts?
The bag that I have now, I purchased in, I believe it was August. By the time they could just get me 50 or 40-pound sacks for a while, and finally they got the opportunity to get me a bulk bag, and I got that. And I probably have 200 pounds left.
Wow, that's quite a bit for one season.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's an awful lot. But I will say, looking at pictures from year to year to year, most of my cameras are set up in the exact same spots every year, and I get a lot of pictures of the same deer. And it is a considerable improvement from when I started hunting there 4 years ago up to now. It's incredible.
It made your herd's racks a lot better, I'm guessing.
Yep. They're a lot heavier. They're growing kicker points. Most of the kickers are coming off their back G2, which is kind of interesting. And that's about the only place they've ever come off of. It's incredible how it works.
Why do you think that is, Monty?
Most of that I am thinking is due to up where I'm hunting. There is a lot of corn, and there's a little bit of alfalfa. I don't think they're getting the nutrition out of the grass and corn that they're needing to grow that extra mass and those extra points all the time.
Okay.
We've had some really dry years, and I think that's hurt the population some and the health of the herd overall. And putting this out is, I think, bringing the health and size of the racks and just overall, like I say, the overall health of the deer.
Gotcha.
And not only the health, the nutrition and minerals, it kind of gives them that extra boost to make it through the cold weather months.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Let's do a head-to-toe rundown of your equipment. When you get ready to head out to the woods, give us a rundown of what kind of camouflage, just what kind of garments are you wearing?
I use, I like the Real Tree AP, camo pattern. It seems
real quick,
to suit this area better.
Real quick, are you a believer in having matching riggings to head to the woods for picture time afterwards?
Yeah.
Seems to be a new trend.
Everybody wants to look good, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, that seems to be the new, hunting setting a fashion statement.
Yeah, most of the time I don't mind having a little extra blood in the picture. I'm not one that a lot of people on TV say, oh, you got to make sure you have all the blood washed off and it's got to look, there can't be any traces of blood. I'm like, well, that's how I found him when I got to him, so I am going to take some pictures of him like that.
Keeping it real.
Yep, exactly.
So you're a real tree camo wearer. During particular scent sprays or cover sprays or washes that you prefer?
I have the scent blocker gear, and I also use scent killer, the 99% spray. When I get to the field, I will spray down before I even think about walking to my stand. Boots, head to toe, everything that's exposed gets sprayed down, all the way down to my bow, my arrows, my bags, everything gets sprayed down before I head in.
Awesome. So you got your Real Tree on, you're sprayed down. Let's talk about from the time you left the house to the time you harvested your buck. Give us a rundown of the day you harvested him.
All right. Well, it's one of the it was a different kind of morning. My brother was actually up to hunt with me that weekend. He doesn't get to hunt very much due to he has more of an office job and can't get away too much. And so I initially had set out to take him to one of my better stands to try and help him harvest a deer. And I decided, hey, had all my clothes washed up in scent killer, and I said, well, I'm going to take my stuff with me, and if the morning starts looking like it's going to be a good morning to sit in the stand, I'll just sit in one of my other ones and take my video camera and just see what I can see for the morning. Didn't anticipate a whole lot of deer movement at the stand I was thinking about sitting in. And so we get all loaded up, make sure we have all our scent killer totes and stuff with us, and we both shoot Hoyt bows.
Right. What time did you guys head out that morning?
Oh, I believe we left at 4:30, so we were going to be in the stands an hour before daylight, which was going to be 6:50 that morning. I'm trying to think.
Gotcha.
Yes. I take that back. It was going to be 7:30 that morning when it was going to be daylight, because I released my arrow right before 8 o'clock. So yeah, it was going to be about an hour, just over an hour drive up to where we were going to stop and get out and head to the tree stands. And made sure four-wheelers were all fueled up and pickup was fueled up, and got some breakfast and headed on our way up there. And that morning it was probably about a 15-mile-an-hour wind out of the southwest, which for hunting about half of my stands is a perfect wind. Most of the deer movement, when it is a southwest wind, they come from the south and head north across the crop fields back into a new bedding area to the north. And I dropped him off and told him I was probably going to go check cameras for the rest of the morning, and sat him in what I called the pond stand, which in 2011 I killed my biggest deer to date with a bow. And sat up there. That's where the most deer movement is. That's where the most bucks have been cruising through, looking for does just a little bit. And I went on up the road and decided it's too nice of a morning, even with the wind, that I'm just going to go sit in the stand.
So you kind of tricked your brother that you wasn't going to hunt this great stand.
Yeah, I never would have thought that this buck would have came through, because this buck in particular, I did not have any trail cam pictures of. which was very interesting to me. That's happened to me 3 years running now.
Really?
But yeah, it's just been just crazy the way it's ended up. But I went ahead and jumped on the four-wheeler and drove in about a half mile from my tree stand and parked and headed in there. And it was probably, at this time, a little after 7, so I was getting in the stand a little later than what I wanted to. And climbed up in the stand, kind of got things ready, and I looked out in the field, and there were some does out in front of me out in a picked cornfield, and they were just kind of nosing around a little bit. And I got a text from my brother saying he started seeing a couple bucks come into the field and 5 or 6 doe, and I hadn't seen anything but just a couple doe in the field. And pretty soon I thought I heard something behind me, and I turned around, and there's a buck walking down the fence line about 90 yards from south to north behind me, and he looked like he was on a mission. He was just kind of had his head down and just kept walking, and I picked up the grunt tube and decided to give him a couple grunts, and he picked his head up and started walking towards me right away. Just on a dime, he turned around and started walking right to me.
What kind of grunt tube is this?
I just use a Primos. Oh, now I'm gonna have to think. It's a Primos call. Let me look.
So he's walking into you. Is he kind of headed away from you, or is he coming right at you?
He's coming right towards my tree. There's a trail that the deer have taken quite a bit that comes within 10 yards of the tree. And so he, just on a line, he started coming. And so I grabbed my bow and kind of stood there and got ready. And then he stopped. He got about 50 yards away, and he stopped and kind of looked around and more or less realized that there wasn't a buck that he could see around. So he turned around and walked off, and I was just not feeling real good at the time. I just couldn't believe it. And he jumped the fence into a neighboring property, and I let him go out of sight and waited about 10 minutes, and this was about 7:40, I believe, was when that happened. And I picked up the rattling antlers and hit the rattling antlers together real quick and did a snort wheeze. And I just put everything away and sat down and started watching my field again, seeing if anything would come out of some cedar trees that are along the north and south side.
Monty, before we get into the rest of the hunt, can you tell us what you were doing for a rattle?
I've got just a pair of shed antlers that I use for rattling antlers.
Gotcha.
And I just kind of bang them together a couple times and rattle them around a little bit, and nothing too severe because I've had some bigger bucks react to the rattling antlers. But if you go too hard, they'll realize that something's not quite right.
Okay, interesting.
It's been really interesting how they react to it.
That's cool that you've had that the opportunity to have that observation. That's pretty neat.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep, it's happened a couple different times. If you rattle too much, it'll more or less scare the deer away.
It don't seem realistic to him, I guess.
Nope, not at all. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's the loudness of it or just the sheer aggressiveness of it, but there is a certain type of rattling that they like and a certain type that will send them the other way.
Monty, you wouldn't happen to have those shed antlers with you, would you?
I believe I do. Yes, I do. They're with the rest of my archery equipment.
All right. I was wondering if you would maybe just do an example of how you rattled that day.
Okay. I can sure try. Let's see if I can put you on speaker here. There we go.
All right.
That's about all the longer that I've ever done it.
Interesting. So, I mean, it wasn't that loud. It wasn't that long. It was just kind of,
nope.
No, not aggressive, just kind of locking horns a little bit, and that's it.
Yep, mainly just to pique some interest.
Okay.
That's about it.
Awesome. All right, let's keep going with the hunt. So you spotted him, you gave him a rattle, and what happened next?
Then I gave him a little bit of a snort wheeze, and I put everything back in my bag, and I sat down, started watching my field, and I heard what I thought was some grass crunching behind me, and sure enough, I turn around, and he's already at 30 yards. He must I didn't see him coming until he got that close. He just snuck in on me, and then there he was, just walking right out towards the field.
That's getting in tight there.
Yeah, but most of my tree stands are between 20 and 30 feet in the air.
Wow.
A lot of people don't think they need to be that high, but if you saw some of the trees that I hunt out of, that's when they get to where they're straight enough to be able to set in.
Right.
You ever get a nosebleed up that high?
Oh, no. I haven't yet. I've sat in them enough that I'm getting used to it now.
Right. Yeah. No thanks. But, it seems to be the higher you are, the more you can get by with.
Yep. You can do a lot more moving. Your scent's up a little bit higher and not so close to the ground. And I like it up there. I can see a lot better from up there.
What type of stands are you talking about as far as brand? And I mean, these things got to be, when you're up that high, you got to feel a sense of security. So you don't want anything too rickety. What are you using?
I use big game tree stands. They're just a hang-on stand. Nothing too special. Usually I buy them from Menards, which is just a kind of a hardware store. And usually when they go on sale, either after hunting season or right before season, they'll have a big sale on tree stands, and you'll buy them for about $50 a piece.
Okay, gotcha.
Which is pretty reasonable. And so that's all my tree stands, except for I've got some River's Edge ladder stands that I also hunt out of when my wife hunts with me during rifle season.
Gotcha.
I guess I hunt with her. I usually don't have a tag left by the time rifle season rolls around. So.
Gotcha. So you grunted the buck, it came in, it then disappeared into another piece of woods. You rattled a little bit, and it snuck up on you, and he's in front of you 30 yards out.
Yep, he doesn't. He's not even stopping. He's just coming in, and I have enough time by the time I grab my bow and draw. He's at 17 yards, and he's already walked past me, probably 8 yards to the right of my tree. And when he gets about at that 17 yards, he stands and he just stops and looks out into the field. And I knew then it was either you let that arrow go or he's probably going to spook, because there was not one deer in the field at the time.
Interesting.
So yeah, he stopped there and I let it go, and to me looked like a perfect shot. He ran about 100 yards and then stood there and did not move for the next 45 minutes. He just stood there and stood there and stood there, and I was getting sicker and sicker and sicker by the minute.
So did he run off into the field, or did he run back into the woods?
Nope, he ran back. He ran back kind of towards where he came from.
Okay.
But he didn't make it to the fence. He just stopped about 20 to 25 yards on my side of the fence.
He was feeling the burn.
Yep.
He literally stood there for 45 minutes, didn't move a muscle.
No, he did not move. I got my video camera out, and I videoed him for a little while and took some pictures of him with my video camera while he stood there.
Interesting.
It's crazy. So what happened? What happens after that?
Then I sat there and watched him, and pretty soon there was probably a cedar tree about 15 foot tall that he took about 3 steps and laid down right underneath that cedar tree. And I could see that just the top of his points as he left his head up. I could see the top of his points as he laid there. And about 5 minutes after that, here come another, about a 4x4 buck, probably only, he's only about a 2.5-year-old. He come walking in, and all of a sudden he got all postured up, put his ears back, and started fighting with this deer as he was laying on the ground.
Wow.
And this went on for 15 minutes. He sat there and fought with this deer as he was laying on the ground.
It's amazing what they do. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. He must have known that he wasn't going to get up and fight him off, because he just sat there, and it wasn't a serious fight. It was more kind of a playful fight, because he was such a much smaller, younger deer than what I had shot.
Right. Yeah, he was just kind of goofing around. But
Yep. And he finally got uninterested, and he walked right by me. He walked 5 yards from me, from my tree, and walked on by, and he disappeared and left. And so I sat there and watched the deer I shot for just a few more minutes, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And I texted my brother and told him I'd got one, but he wasn't dead yet. And so I snuck out of the tree and went ahead, and I left and walked back to the pickup and kind of regrouped a little bit and went back and tried to envision a shot in my head where a shot placement was, and I knew it had to be a good shot, but without a video camera, it's kind of hard to remember, especially when your blood's pumping that hard.
Oh yeah.
But we left him until 12:30. We went and got something to eat and came back, and we walked over there, and he was laying there pretty stiff by that time already, and he'd made it there was a little bit of pool of blood, but when the shot went in, it appeared that it hit either a rib or maybe part of the shoulder blade and went straight down out of the bottom of his chest, so it only clipped one lung.
Gotcha.
And he was able to stay alive, and that's why he was alive for so long.
Gotcha. All right. So it wasn't, it didn't pass through as you had hoped. It got redirected.
Yep.
Interesting.
But yeah, he's completely bled out inside.
Right.
But yeah, he was pretty stiff by the time I found him, so I'm guessing he only lived maybe another half an hour after I got out of the tree.
So what's next? You got your big buck on the ground. How do you guys get him out of the woods?
What we did actually it was probably I'd say 60 yards off the edge of a picked cornfield. So we actually just took the pickup back there and backed right up to him, and my brother and I just loaded him into the back of the pickup after we took a lot of pictures.
Right.
That sounds pretty rough, Jay. How about you? You think that sounds pretty rough?
Hey, I don't care. Just it's all good. It's all good in my mind. So, how did can you describe the rack for us a little bit? We'll have a picture on the blog post, but could you just describe the rack?
It's more of a darker colored rack than what I'd seen up there the last couple years. I don't know if we've got a new strain of racks coming in, but the points are very close together, which to me, from a lot of the bucks I've shot, is not real typical. Usually there's probably 3-4 inches in between the points as you go around the main beams.
Yeah.
But these are only about 1.5 inches to 2 inches apart, which he's really almost looks like he ran into a wall head first and kind of smashed his rack a little bit.
Huh.
But he's really got sweeping main beams, very, very even points from his 2s, 3s, and 4s. They're all very close to the same length.
Gotcha. It's and how wide was the point to point?
It was 16 3/8, I believe, and that was green scored. Our local game warden, he's an official scorer, and he was planning on doing it this week, but he got tied up with some law stuff, and so he's going to wait until next week to officially score him.
Gotcha. That law stuff got in the way of scoring your deer this week. That's not good.
No.
So
it'd be good for the people he was after. But.
Right. Gotcha. So tell us about the venison that you took off of this buck.
We ended up with 80 pounds of boned out meat. We have butchered our own deer ever since I can remember, which my dad has shot a deer almost every year since I even knew hunting existed or can remember.
Nice.
So he taught us how to bone them out, make sure we virtually use every piece of meat from right behind the head all the way to the butt. We cut it all off, bone it out ourselves, and if we have any hamburger or anything like that, maybe we take it to our local locker and they grind it up for us.
Gotcha.
But yeah, otherwise we do as much as we possibly can ourselves.
Very cool. I like hearing that. Monty, could you share with us your favorite way to cook the venison?
The best way that I know of doing it is I'm a huge fan of the back straps and the tenderloins. It's very, very good.
Right.
I'll put a little bit of seasoning on them, and I have a Traeger grill, wood pellet grill, and I will throw them on there, and it only takes about maybe 10 minutes, and it's perfectly done.
Beautiful. And what kind of seasoning are you using?
I use it's a Famous Dave's is what I use.
Okay.
Steak and burger seasoning.
Oh, neat. Okay. Yeah, it's a famous barbecue joint. Yeah. Famous Dave. Yep. Sure. Very cool. Dusty, do you have any other questions for Monty?
No, I don't, but man, that sure does sound tasty.
Yes, it is very good.
Monty, it sounds like you have a heck of a good spot there, and hope it stays around for a long time for you to hunt on it. And congratulations on that big deer. That's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep. And thank you again for joining us on the show and sharing with us the tips and tricks. And if you had one thing that you could recommend to a hunter that would make them more successful, what would you say?
I would say scent control.
Okay.
Scent control is pretty key to. I think it's probably one of the bigger things as we move forward. The deer, that's what they use for everything. Their sense of smell is so great that anything you can do to help deter that scent is a given.
Awesome. That's very good. Well, Monty, we'll let you go, but thanks for spending the last 35, 40 minutes with us. And hopefully we'll have you again on soon because you're going to send in another big buck to the Big Buck Registry.
Hey, that sounds good. I really appreciate it.
Very cool. Thanks to Monte Hermsmeyer for telling us what it's like to hunt Nebraska. And if you have any comments, questions on that show, give us a call at 724-613-2825 or shoot me an email, j@bigbuckregistry.com. Now, let's tune in to our interview that we had with Tori McCrea from Country Girl Outdoors and find out what it's like to hunt Texas with a group of gals and basically start hunting at a late age, at the age of 29. Tori, welcome to the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're psyched that you could join us, and you kind of caught my eye when you were on our Big Buck Registry Facebook page, and I think you had sent in a request for a share to share, and as we sometimes like to do, instead of just auto sharing and just pushing buttons, we like to get in a little deeper, get to know our share for shares a little better, and then we'll share. We'll share a lot.
Good.
Yeah. So Tori, tell us about who you are and where you're from.
My name is Tori McCrea, and I'm from San Angelo, Texas. I didn't start hunting until I was 29 years old.
29. Okay.
29.
All right. That's cool. What took you so long?
Well, I grew up fishing with my dad's dad, which is we call Pawpaw. When I was little, he was a huge fisherman. He was an outdoors hunting man, but it was all boating and fishing and everything at the lake. My dad worked with me with 22s and stuff like that, but really I was more of a person that fished and learned how to fish, and that was just our thing. On every summer I'd go stay with someone. We'd stay at the lake, and there's a little camper, and we would fish the crappie house all night long.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then my hunting didn't start until I met my husband of 10 years now, and his passion is to hunt. He had been a guide for many, many years before I had met him, and his passion was to be in the outdoors and to hunt and to guide and to help people with their passion of hunting.
Gotcha.
And I picked it up and I just loved it. I've always loved the outdoors, and now hunting is just one of those things that I truly love to do.
Isn't it interesting how there's this transition where you are part of the outdoors, you enjoy the outdoors, usually, it's starting with fishing or something like that, maybe not even to have hunted, but the minute that you're introduced to it, you've already got the outdoor thing all figured out, but the minute you're introduced to hunting itself, I don't think I've ever heard of anybody not being hooked on it.
Right.
A similar
right. Yeah, I was loved it. And when can I go again? When can we go again? And even if I didn't actually shoot anything, it was what I saw in the experience that I got when I saw it.
Right.
It's an addiction.
It is.
You got to feed it.
That's right.
Yeah, it's one of those things that once you do it once, you never want to stop doing it.
Right.
Yep.
It's an awesome feeling.
You just gotta, you wait for the next time when you get the chance to go, and you can't. It's kind of like Christmas. You watch the clock and see when it's going to get here.
Right. Exactly.
Watch the calendar.
It's.
I got to step in and say it's better than Christmas.
Yeah.
I think so. It's like, you think it's deer season eve. I mean, I treat it like a holiday. I can't sleep.
It is a holiday. It is a holiday.
It is. In some states, they take the day off.
That should be nationwide.
I agree. I don't know why some states do and some states don't, but the schools will be closed for a holiday just so they can hunt. I think that should be everywhere in the United States, not just some.
Right.
So you learned how to hunt from your husband in a way, and he was a bit of an inspiration for you.
Yes, he was a very big inspiration,
Yep.
and but I fell in love with him more when he invited me to hunt with him and introduced me to his passion, because a lot of men, they hunt and their wives don't hunt. And I felt like that was something that was important to him, to be able to pull me into it and see if it's something I would want to do so we could do it together.
Right.
And it was awesome. And it's been awesome ever since then.
Now, how long ago was that?
I will be 40, February the 1st. And at that time I had just turned 29.
Well, happy early birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was in February. The weekend of my birthday, we went and looked at this deer lease in Junction, Texas, on our way to San Antonio.
Gotcha. Now, after that, I mean, you've been hunting for a little while, and there's some other stuff that developed here between your love of the outdoors and Country Girls Outdoors. Obviously, there's more to the story than just you learning how to hunt. Where did that connection come in?
Well, I feel it's very important that women and children get involved in the outdoors, whether they hunt or not. You don't have to be a hunter to be involved in the outdoors. But I feel that it's very important to preserve our heritage and get more women and children in the outdoors. And Country Girls came about with my daughter and I sitting in the vehicle, driving down the road, taking a road trip. And we had just left the NWTF 2012.
Yep.
And I looked at my husband and my daughter, and at the same time, Kelly and I were like, we need a women's and children's show, because we watch a lot of outdoor channels and we watch a lot of the different hunting shows. And you see men or you see a husband and wife team, but you don't ever see a women and children's team. Every once in a while, you will get someone say at the end of their show, and you need to take a child to hunt. And you can continue to watch that show, and 9 times out of 10, you won't see a child on that show. They push you to do that, but you don't see it happen. And that is where we come in. We want to be able to take women and children in the outdoors. There may be women that don't want to hunt. You can hunt with a camera. You can sit in a tree lawn. You can sit on the ground next to a tree, and you can hunt with a camera the same way you can hunt with a gun.
Right.
And it's just getting that excitement and that adrenaline rush of being in with nature and being one with them, watching how they come up, watching how they interact with each other, watching how they live in their habitat and what they do. But we teach our children, because that's all we eat. We don't buy your beef and stuff from the store. We hunt and we cook the food that we hunt, and we do all of our own processing. We do the whole package.
Gotcha. And
that's how our children have been raised.
So you're kind of off the grid. You don't go to the supermarket to get any of the meat that you eat. Did I hear that right?
The only thing I buy there is chicken. We don't buy beef from the store.
Okay.
Every once in a while, every blue moon, we decide we want to make hamburgers. And I have tried to make hamburgers with wild game, and it just doesn't work. There's not any fat to hold it together. You can't make patties. It just doesn't work.
Right.
But other than hamburgers, we don't buy meat. We have elk and whitetail and buffalo in our freezer.
That's awesome. So the buffalo and the elk, where do they come from? Do you actually go hunting for them, or is that just something you buy?
Yes, those come. Well, the first year we got an elk and a buffalo, we actually lived in Colorado. And my son and my husband went on a buffalo hunt, and they both shot 1,000-pound buffalo apiece.
Wow.
And that same hunting season, my husband went and shot an elk with who's now 9 with our 4-year-old at the time. She went with him and shot an elk.
Wow.
And so at the same time, we're packaging up elk and buffalo, and it took 3 coolers each of each animal. Usually with the whitetail, you're going to have 2 whitetail in a cooler. Well, we had 3 coolers full of meat from the buffalo and 3 coolers full of meat from the elk, and we do all of our own processing. We don't take it to anybody.
That's amazing, because considering that the animals that you're talking about is some of the most delectable meat on the planet.
Yes, buffalo is known to be the best meat for you. It's the number 1 on the top of the list.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Dusty.
You got room for one more? That's eating high on the hog. I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good too. It really is good. Everything that you would cook with beef, I put elk or buffalo or whitetail in it.
Oh wow! I like whitetail venison. I think that's good and delicious. But I have to say that the buffalo meat and the elk meat, I think, is just a little bit better than regular whitetail venison.
It's rich.
Yes.
The meat is rich.
Yes. And I would throw beef to the curb any day, in exchange for elk or buffalo.
And my kids know if I go to the store and I buy stuff to make hamburgers with, and I have extra meat left over and I just want to get rid of it and I throw it into a lasagna, they know it's not wild game. They know it's from the store and it has fat in it, and they can tell the difference. And they'll say, "Mom, this is not the same. This is not what you normally cook."
Right.
They can taste difference.
I think that's when you know you're raising your kids right.
Yes, I think so. So that's how they've been raised, and they will continue to raise them that way. The girls aren't getting near as many hormones in their system.
Right.
We're not feeding them from the stuff from the store.
Well, they may never be professional baseball players, if that's the case.
Right.
That's a joke. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
All right. So you must be you're cooking all this wild game. Dusty and I have been on a little bit of a wild game recipe kick lately.
Okay.
Can you share with us some of the dishes that you like to make with that meat?
I make green enchiladas with buffalo, whitetail, and elk. I make, like tonight, I made lasagna with buffalo meat. I make chili with all three of them. Anything that you would make beef with, I use wild game with.
Okay.
In everything.
Any dish that where you'd have beef, you'd replace the beef with some kind of elk or buffalo.
Whitetail buffalo. Yep.
What's your favorite dish to make? What's got the whole family loves?
The lasagna.
Man, that sounds good.
Yep.
I do love lasagna, I have to say. One of my favorite dishes of all time. It's a huge comfort food, you know. That's just, it doesn't get any better than if you want something comforting, that's it.
That is.
All right, so you've
right
got
up there with me. It's chicken and dumplings, but like I said, I don't buy a whole lot of chicken from the store.
Right, and that's kind of what I had for dinner tonight was chicken and dumplings. All right, so tell me a little bit about why you think that this industry, specifically on TV, I don't know if this is necessarily true for the real world, but it could be a representation. Why is it on TV you see mostly men and you see very few children and very few women?
I feel it's because it's always been known as a man sport, and women were never brought into the picture until now. A couple of years ago, you could watch a hunting show and you'd never see a woman on a hunting show. And then a couple of years later, they started doing couple hunts, and that went on with that went wild, because then they had getting women involved, but it was the husband and the wife. I feel it's important to bring the women and the children in because this is, you know, in this day and age, if there's a mom in the house and they've got children and the children want to do what daddy's doing and mama doesn't go, some of the children may decide to venture off and do what mom wants to do. If mom is involved and does the outdoors and gets involved in the outdoors, more of her children will be involved in the outdoors.
I completely agree.
Brings the whole family together.
Right. Do you look up to any individual that's in the industry right now that's a woman? Is there somebody that is your idol?
I like Jana Waller real well.
Okay.
She inspires me, and Pat Nicole Reeves.
Okay. Now, is Country Girls Outdoors its own television show?
That's what we are pushing it to go toward.
Okay. That's where you want to go.
Yes, that is our goal. And we want to be able to introduce the outdoors to women and children that have never had the opportunity to go out and go hunting, go out and do the whole adventure and get the whole adrenaline of sitting and watching a deer come up and being 15 yards from it and this and that. And it's not about getting the kill and it's not about the shot. It's just about being that close and that personal with that animal.
Right.
And getting that whole feeling of what it's like to sit and them not even know you're there.
That's a very special time, is when you can sit there and watch wildlife pass, and it's just, you're like, you know what? I wouldn't trade this for the world, and I'm the only one here. It's great.
And, you know, I find myself telling people, I love hunting, but I love to go and sit, and that's my getaway. That's the time where you can leave all your problems and all your mishaps and everything that's gone on that day or maybe that month. Leave it at home, get outside, get in the outdoors, and it's all like gone. It's not with you at that moment. You're just in nature and God's creation of everything around you, and everything else is just not there with you. You're in the moment of being in the outdoors, and it's just very peaceful. It's a relaxing, de-stressing time for me.
Right. No, I do it for peace of mind mostly. I mean, that's really what I do it for. Speaking of the outdoors, Tori, will you take us through a hunt? I'm going to have Dusty kind of take it from here and walk us through one of your favorite hunts of all time.
Yeah, we talked briefly. It's going to be a turkey hunt. That's correct?
It is. It was in Nebraska.
Yeah, tell us about this turkey hunt, who you're with, and kind of terrain. Just give us a rundown of the whole day. Okay, it sounds like a real unique experience, and we'd like to hear it.
It is. I will tell you, turkey hunting is not easy, and I found that out with my daughter. We went to Nebraska to go hunting with Nebraska. The Roost is what Jim Coon owns, the Roost, and we went up there, and it was just going to be my daughter hunting, and she was working on her Grand Slam, and she wanted to get a Merriam. Called Jim up, and he said, "Well, I got Ladies in Camo coming up," so I got in touch with Ladies in Camo. We made it a hunt, and we got there, and that is a hard hunt. It was spot and stalking. It was crawling 50 yards on your belly, holding your gun up in the mud. I mean, it was a extremely hard hunt, and my daughter
sounds
did
pretty
it
intense.
like it was easy. I mean, she made it look easy. So we were there. We got there on Thursday. We started hunting on a Friday morning, and she got her bird Friday evening. Friday evening. And so we were there one day, and she was done with her hunt. And Jim said, well, who else is hunting? And all the ladies in camo were there, and some of the ladies had gotten their birds, and the other ones hadn't. And my husband said, well, we were just planning on coyote hunting, but my wife has never shot a turkey before. So Jim was like, well, we need to get you a turkey. And I was set up with the guide that guided Kylie. His name was Dustin, and his nickname is Dirt. Very, very nice gentleman. And he got the job done, but it was a hard hunt. I mean, I didn't get mine in one day. I didn't get mine till Saturday afternoon. And we started out Friday night, didn't get it Friday night, and Saturday morning, got up, ate breakfast, went out. It was very not stressful, because hunting to me is not stressful, but it was so intense, because I've never really crawled that far holding a gun up with my forearm, so it wouldn't get mud in the stalk and all over it. And
right. So you guys earned these turkeys.
Do what?
You earned these turkeys.
Right. Oh yes, it was a definite earn.
Right.
And the birds were there. I mean, there were so many of them. It was just getting the one that I needed, and being able to get close to it. And mind you, we filmed this whole thing. So not only was it an intense hunt, but my husband filmed our hunt.
Right.
And he was carrying all the camera and the equipment, and it was very intense. So anytime someone says they went turkey hunting and spot and stalk, it is a tough hunt, but it is well worth it. And I gained so much from that hunt, and I respect people that go out and that do turkey hunts, because it's not, you don't go and sit and they come up and you shoot them. You got to go find them, and then you got to spot them, and then you got to stalk up to them. And I mean, very intense.
Was you able to do
awesome.
it?
And we turned it into a mother-daughter hunt. We went there getting Kylie a hunt, getting Kylie a turkey, Miriam, and we ended up with 2 Miriam. And so we turned the Kylie hunt into a mother-daughter hunt. And we've never, up to that point, we have never actually hunted together. So that made it even more important that we were able to do it together. And I got so much more out of that hunt because we did it togetger.
All right, that's very cool. Yeah,
it was awesome.
Was you able to do any calling at all? Was it all spot and stalk?
No, my Dirt was teaching my daughter, working with her, because we had already had some of the slate calls and stuff, and she'd been working on those. When we went to the NWTF, everybody had their own slate calls, and she was sitting with the guys at the NWTF learning how to do the slate calls. And Dirt is an awesome caller, and he has all these different mouthpieces he uses. He has all these different slate calls he uses. He has different box calls he uses, and he worked with her and taught her how to do her slate call better, and they actually called up turkey. It was very awesome.
Yeah,
he would call a little bit, and then she would do it, and then he would do it, and she would do it, and we're just sitting out there, and no turkeys in sight, and then all of a sudden you see these turkeys come in.
That's cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah, that helps out.
Experience.
Yeah, it's a great experience too when you have somebody that really knows what they're doing, can kind of give you a few pointers and tips to bring the birds in.
Yes, and that's what she likes to do. And now, on all of her different turkey hunts that she went on last year, on the way to the hunt, she would practice doing her slate call in the truck. I have pictures on our Facebook and website showing her working with turkey calls.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jay, what else do you have?
Hey, Tori, can you take us through your pro staff? I'm on your website right now at countrygirlsoutdoors.com. And I was wondering if you could just tell us who some of these people on your site are. I see you there. Who is Kylie?
Kylie McCrea. That's my 9-year-old daughter.
Okay. And how is she as far as hunting? What are her passions?
Oh, she loves to hunt. She's been hunting since she was 3 years old. She got a little cricket. Her first gun was a cricket 22.
Awesome. She looks like got some curls, and I bet she's a firecracker.
She is.
Very nice. All right.
And she, her first turkey was shot at 5, and her first buck she shot at 6.
That's awesome. A buck at 6. Boy, it's fantastic. How about Chelsea Johnson?
Chelsea Johnson. That is a friend of ours out of McAllen, Texas. her dad is in the Border Patrol, which my husband used to be in the Border Patrol, and they grew up together. And him and Mike Johnson Eric, my husband, and Mike Johnson have grew up together and hunting together. And when Mike started a family, and his kids are a little bit older than ours are, that he has also brought his family into the outdoor, and his daughter loves to hunt. And so she comes up with us every Christmas to Texas. I should say down with us every Christmas to Texas.
Gotcha.
And comes hunting with us.
Cool. All right. How about Tiffany Brown? She's behind a nice big buck here. I don't know what the story is behind that, but who is Tiffany Brown? She
is a fabulous lady from Florida. And her story with us is her husband and her got married, and on their honeymoon, they came to Texas hunting, and my husband was their guide, and he got her that buck. That's actually, and the gun that you see laying there across the buck, that's my husband's 300.
Gotcha. All right. And how about Kenna Ballman?
Kenna Ballman, she is family. Her dad and Eric, which is my husband, are related. Kenny McCrea is my husband's uncle, and Kenny and Eric had McCrea Outdoors outfitting business together.
Okay. Gotcha.
And Kenna is Kenny's daughter.
Got it.
She's been hunting since she was a baby.
Kenna's named after Kenny.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. And let's see, Megan Manship.
Megan is from San Angelo. Well, Megan lives in San Angelo, Texas. Okay. And she has been hunting for a little while. When she was younger, her thing was fishing with her grandpa. And as she got older, she got introduced to hunting. And she is married to a guide that works for McCrea Outdoors.
Gotcha. Okay.
When we go to Texas, we hunt with McCrea Outdoors.
And how about Caitlin and Taryn?
Caitlin is my 4-year-old that will be 5 on the 5 Saturday. And Taryn is my 6-year-old that will be 7 in February.
Excellent.
And Taryn and Caitlin shoot a crossbow.
Very cool. All right. So you got the family there between Kylie, Caitlin, and Taryn and Tori. So, and you're all sporting the pink T-shirts there. And how about Heather Lininger?
Heather Lininger, she is new to our team. She is the one that we went hunting with when we went hunting last year with Ladies in Camo. She was on the Ladies in Camo team, and she is now joined with us with Country Girls Outdoors.
Gotcha. So that's the staff. That's your pro staff that you've got signed up right now.
I have a son.
Okay.
You would probably see him on the Family Traditions page on our website, and his name is Lane, and he is also a cameraman. My husband and my son are our cameramen.
Gotcha. That's awesome. So tell us where people listening to the show can find you.
Where they can find me. I live right at this moment in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay. And as far as like online, how do they get a hold of you?
They can get me through, they can leave, we have contact information on our website. You can contact us through countrygirlsoutdoors.com and send us an email.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Facebook page, Country Girls Outdoors Facebook. They can Facebook us, and our contact phone number's on there if they want to give us a call.
Very cool. And how about your Facebook page?
Yes, our contact information is on our Facebook page as well. And they're linked together so you can go from one to the other and back and forth.
Very cool. Tori, this has been great. Thank you for going a little deeper and telling us about Country Girls Outdoors and letting us know
my pleasure.
What's going on out there. And we'll have you on the show. Obviously, we'll post it on our Facebook page when the show comes out. We'll do a share for share and let the world know who you are.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate y'all's time and getting us out there, because to me it's very important that women and children are involved in the outdoors no matter what you do.
Yeah, Dusty and I could not agree more.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank y'all both.
All right, take care, Tori.
Very nice to meet you. Take care.
Yep, bye-bye. All right, that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast. If you'd like to reach out to Dusty, he's over at facebook.com/Chubby Tines Outdoors. Yeah, if you'd like to reach us at the Big Buck Registry, you can find us in multiple locations. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Big Buck Registry. You can find us on Twitter, twitter.com/Big Buck Registry. You can find us on our website, which is www.bigbuckregistry.com. You can always give us a call at 724-613-2825 and give us some feedback about the show, whether you liked it or didn't like it, or what you liked about other shows or didn't like about other shows. That would be very useful for us so we can bring you better content And we love feedback anyway. You could also call that number or text that number. If you shot a big buck and you want to tell that elated story right then and there, that'd be great. Obviously, you shouldn't be doing that this time of year. But you could call that at any point and share a story if you don't want to set up an appointment with us to tell your story on the podcast. But you can also text a picture to that phone number as well. And that's, again, 724-613-2825. You can also send an email to jay@bigbuckregistry.com with your pictures. And you can always share on Facebook, either direct message or private message right on our Facebook page. So that's a wrap. And we'll see you next week right here on the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
Can't wait.